My friend, today I want to offer you a truth so simple, so quiet that most overlook it. You do not need to struggle to act or to make things happen in the world. You only need to listen, but not to the noise of the world. You must listen with your inner ear, to the whispers of imagination, to the sound of your wish fulfilled. We have been taught that action changes the world, but the deepest truths are always reversed. It is not action that creates change, but assumption. And assumption comes through inner hearing. What would you hear if your desire were already realized? Would you hear a friend congratulating you? Would you hear yourself saying, "I can't believe it, I actually won"? Would you hear the subtle sounds of celebration, the clink of glasses, the laughter, the phone call from the lottery office? Let those sounds be more real to you than the silence of your current bank account. Let the unseen ear hear it and believe in what you hear. You see, creation is already finished. The winning version of you already exists. The world you long for is not out there waiting to be built. It is waiting to be accepted. The moment you listen to the sounds of success and truly believe in them, you shift into a state where that success is inevitable. You don't need to chase or force. You don't need to figure out how the numbers will line up or how the ticket will find its way to you. That is not your concern. Close your eyes. Hear the voice that tells you you've won. Hear it from a friend, a stranger, a sibling. Hear the inflection in their voice. Hear the joy in your own. Make it vivid, make it real. And then rest in it. Refuse to listen to the voice of doubt. Refuse the world when it tells you it's impossible. Refuse the evidence of your senses. Instead, return again and again to that holy moment where you heard the truth before the world confirmed it. And when doubt arises, as it always tries to, do not fight it. Simply return, hear it again, hear it better, hear it more clearly. Your persistence in listening is your only action. Faith is the bridge between the world within and the world without. And faith comes by hearing, not once but continually. So I say to you now, dare to listen. Dare to trust the sound that comes not from the outside, but from the depths of your own being. Dare to let it be enough. The lottery is won in silence before it is won in the world. Listen and it is done. The world teaches us to move, to chase, to act. We are conditioned from birth to believe that effort is the engine of success and that only by striving can we become worthy of the things we desire. Action is glorified. Hustle is rewarded. Constant doing is mistaken for progress. And yet beneath all the noise, beneath the pressure, beneath the world of sweat and struggle, there is another voice. It is not loud. It does not demand attention. It does not shout or clamor. And this whisper, if you learn to hear it, will unlock doors the world says are impossible to open. This whisper lives within you. It is the voice of imagination. It is the sound of the unseen reality that already exists. You see, the outer world is a shadow, a reflection of the inner one. And before anything appears in the visible realm, it is first created in silence, in stillness, in the invisible sanctuary of your mind. All things, no matter how grand or small, are born from hearing, not with the physical ears, but with the ear of imagination. To listen in this way is not to beg or to plead, but to receive. To listen is to accept the voice of your fulfilled desire as already true. So ask yourself, what would you hear if your wish were already fulfilled? What would someone say to you if you had already achieved your greatest dream? Would they congratulate you? Would they celebrate your breakthrough? Would they say, I always knew this day would come for you? Would you hear your own voice saying, I did it? Let this be your practice, to sit in stillness and to listen not to the world, not to your fears, not to your doubts, but to the reality you desire as though it were already done. You are not imagining for the sake of pretending. You are imagining because the act of listening inwardly with faith is creative. It brings forth the unseen into the seen. It plants the seed of experience in the soil of consciousness. And from that soil, in due time, the outer world must respond. This is why listening is the secret door. It seems too simple to be powerful. It seems passive. But nothing could be further from the truth. True listening is the most active and potent form of creation because it aligns you with the state of your wish fulfilled. When you hear the inner dialogue of success, when you hear the laughter of joy, when you hear the words of victory, without contradiction, without doubting, without needing proof, you are stepping through the door into that very state. And once you enter the state, the world reshapes to reflect it. There is nothing to earn, there is nothing to force, there is only the state to occupy. And that state is entered not by effort but by hearing rightly. So let the world run and strive and scream. Let it exhaust itself trying to push and pull circumstances into place. You, however, may retreat into the quiet chamber of your being. You may close your eyes and hear the sounds of the life you choose to live. Let that inner sound become more real than the noise outside you. Let it become your truth. And as you return to it, night after night, morning after morning, you will find that the outer world begins to echo what you have heard in silence. The voices of doubt will fade. The voices of fear will weaken. And one day you will hear those very same words spoken aloud in the world, congratulations. You did it. You really did it. And when that moment comes, you will not be surprised. You will smile quietly because you will have already heard it. You knew the secret. Assume the voice within is real, not symbolic, not metaphorical, not wishful thinking, but real, vibrant, powerful, and creative. Most people live their entire lives listening to the world outside. They take their cues from circumstances, from bank accounts, from statistics, and from the voices of others who tell them what is and isn't possible. They trust outer facts, but disregard inner knowing. They believe the five senses, but ignore the sixth, the one that speaks in silence, in vision, and in soundless words. But the truth is this: your imagination is not a fantasy. It's the first stage of reality. What you hear in imagination is not make-believe. It is the seed of manifestation. Just as the invisible root system of a tree determines the strength and shape of the branches, your inner hearing determines what the outer world must echo. When you inwardly hear yourself being praised, congratulated, recognized, or rewarded, you are not escaping reality. You are laying the foundation for it. You are planting the seed. If you hear the words, congratulations, you've won, and you believe them, not intellectually, but emotionally, you have crossed a threshold. You are no longer hoping or wishing. You are receiving the truth before the world is ready to confirm it. And that is the great key, to accept the inner voice as more authoritative than the outer noise. It takes courage. The world will call it delusion. Your senses will protest. Logic will demand evidence. But you must be still, and you must believe. You must learn to walk by inner hearing, not by sight. What you hear within becomes the structure of your life. Whether you realize it or not, your outer world already reflects your inner conversations. The words you accept in silence, those murmurs of lack or wealth, rejection or love, fear or freedom, become the experiences that unfold in time. So choose carefully. what you allow yourself to hear. Speak with intention, and then listen inwardly with faith. Let the voice of your fulfilled desire rise from within. Don't interrupt it with doubt. Don't challenge it with how. Simply accept it as real and feel the emotion that accompanies it. Feel the pride, the joy, the excitement. If it brings tears to your eyes, let them come. That is the sign you've heard correctly. You see, the voice within is not a rehearsal, it is a declaration. When you imagine someone saying, "You did it, you really won," don't brush it off as childish. Embrace it as sacred. That phrase, though spoken in silence, is more powerful than any news report, any forecast, any analysis the world can offer, because it did not come from the world. It came from within you, from the divine creative center of your being. And when you assume it is real, you activate a force that bends reality to match your assumption. You do not have to convince anyone. You do not need to explain yourself. You do not need permission to believe. You only need to assume the voice is real. Let that be your secret. Let that be your quiet power. While others are waiting for signs, you have already received the word. While others check the odds, you rest in certainty. While others fear, you rejoice, because you have heard what matters most. The world is a mirror, and it must reflect the voice you entertain within. If the inner voice says you are wealthy, loved, chosen, or victorious, and you accept that voice with emotion and repetition, then the mirror of life will eventually show it back to you. It cannot do otherwise. So assume the voice within is real. Trust what you hear in the silence more than what you see in the crowd. Keep returning to that sound over and over until it becomes the only truth you know. And when the world finally catches up, when the check arrives, when the call comes, when the doors swing open, you will not be surprised. You will smile quietly and think to yourself, let those words settle into you, not as a concept, but as a revelation. Everything you have ever desired already exists in the invisible realm of consciousness. There is nothing to chase, nothing to build, nothing to beg for. There is only acceptance of the state in which your desire already lives. We are conditioned to believe that life is linear, that time separates us from what we want, and we must work our way toward it. But in truth, every possible version of your life already exists. There is a version of you who has already won the lottery, a version who already lives in abundance, a version who has already been chosen, celebrated, and elevated. That version isn't fiction, it's a state of consciousness. And that state is not waiting to be created, it is waiting to be occupied. You don't bring something new into being. You align with what already is. You see, life does not unfold because of external striving, but because of internal positioning. You move through life by moving within. The moment you inwardly listen and accept the sound of success, truly accept it as your reality, you step into a new state. You do not make it happen. You enter the frequency where it has already happened. And once you do that, the outer world must rearrange itself to match your inner acceptance. This is the secret. You are not becoming, you are selecting. You are not forcing, you are allowing. You are not climbing toward your dream, you are standing inside of it, even before the evidence appears. So when you sit in silence and hear the words, "You've won," and you allow that moment to feel natural, real, even familiar, you are not daydreaming. You are placing yourself into the state of the fulfilled desire. That simple act of listening, when done with faith and emotional acceptance, is more powerful than years of external effort. Why? Because you are no longer trying to become, You have become. You've entered the end result, and from that end, everything changes. People you've never met are moved to help you. Events unfold with perfect timing. Circumstances rearrange without your effort. And why? Because you dared to believe that creation was already finished, and you chose to dwell in the state where your wish is fulfilled. You must understand, every state is eternal. Once imagined, once felt, once accepted, it exists forever in the vast field of consciousness. But unless you occupy it, it remains a possibility, not a personal experience. The only difference between a dream and your life is the state you call home. So if you want to win the lottery, if you want to experience unimaginable abundance, stop thinking of it as a future event. Begin to hear the sounds of that reality now. Hear the excitement in someone's voice. Hear the banker's tone change when they speak to you. Hear your own voice saying, "It finally happened," and then rest. Not in anxiety, not in waiting, but in knowing. If you return to the end over and over, it will harden into fact. The outer world must conform to the state you faithfully dwell in. It cannot resist you forever. It has no choice but to reflect what you have already accepted as true. This is why you are not required to struggle or scheme. Your only task is to listen inwardly until the sound of your success feels natural, until it becomes your truth. There is nothing to chase, no ladder to climb, no door to knock on. Everything you desire already is. So close your eyes, listen deeply, and remember, creation is finished, and you're free to choose your state. The moment you do, life will unfold in ways that make it clear. You were never waiting for the blessing. You were always walking toward the version of you who had already received it. The conversations you have within yourself, the words you hear silently in the theater of your mind, are the very blueprint of your reality. They may seem invisible, casual, or harmless, but they are not. They are creative commands, and the outer world is simply the obedient servant of what you persist in hearing. Most people live unconscious lives not because they lack vision, but because they lack awareness of what they are consistently saying to themselves. Their minds are filled with habitual thoughts, inner dialogues of fear, defeat, delay, unworthiness. And yet they wonder why those same themes repeat externally. But the world has no choice. It must echo what you plant in it. It cannot bring you prosperity while you rehearse inner conversations of lack. It cannot bring you love while you keep hearing, "I'm always overlooked." It cannot bring you breakthrough while your dominant inner voice whispers, "It probably won't work." What you say inwardly is what will be said to you outwardly. This is the hidden cause of every experience. It is not fate, it is not luck, it is not even effort. It is the quality and persistence of your inner hearing. So listen carefully. What do you hear when you are alone and no one is watching? Do you hear yourself failing or succeeding? Do you hear the silence of emptiness or the applause of accomplishment? Do you hear your name being called in celebration or not at all? Begin to govern this inner soundscape, not with force, but with intention. You do not need to speak anything aloud for it to manifest. The world does not require your voice. It responds to your inner speech. The quiet, repetitive sentences you allow to echo within are taken as instruction. If you inwardly hear the words, "You always win," "Everything works out for you," "You are the chosen one," and you persist in that inner dialogue, the world must eventually take on that shape. It may not happen in a day, but it must happen, because what is impressed within will always be expressed without. This is the mystery behind every answered prayer, every lucky break, every door that seemed to open out of nowhere. It wasn't luck, it was inner hearing. The one who controls their inner conversation controls their reality. You do not need to fight the outer world, you only need to change the inner one. And when you do, the outer world, which only ever reflects, must conform. So if you desire to win the lottery, don't chase numbers or search for lucky signs. Instead, listen inwardly. Hear someone say, "You did it. I can't believe you won." Hear your own voice responding with joy, gratitude, or disbelief. Hear the celebration. Hear the confirmation. And most importantly, return to it daily. Let that scene play in your mind with such vivid clarity that it begins to feel familiar. When you reach the point where the inner sound feels more natural than your current condition, you've done the work. You've moved into alignment. The outer world will soon respond. And it will seem miraculous, but it won't be. It will be the direct result of your persistence. This is the silent alchemy of consciousness. This is the true use of imagination. This is the sacred power of inner hearing. So I ask you now, what are you listening to? What voices do you entertain in secret? What words are you allowing to echo in your mind? Because those words, those unseen sounds, are your future in seed form. Guard your inner ear. Feed it words of life, wealth, love, and success. Let your private speech match the life you wish to live. And as you persist in that tone, your world will rise up and reflect it detail by detail. You don't have to shout. You don't have to convince anyone. You only have to listen to what is true before it becomes visible. And when it arrives, you'll realize the outer world was never leading. That statement offends the logical mind. The world teaches you to act, to grind, to prove yourself through effort. Do more, they say. Push harder, hustle longer. Yet what if all the movement you see in the world is not the cause, but the effect of something deeper? What if the true cause of change is faith? Not in a deity on a throne above, but in the image and sound you accept within. You do not need to take massive action. You do not need to calculate every step. You do not need to chase the dream. You only need to persist in hearing the end as if it were already real, because it is. Faith is not wishing. Faith is inner certainty. It is the complete acceptance of the reality you have heard and seen inwardly. It is knowing that what you hear in the silence of imagination is already finished, already accomplished, waiting only for the outer world to echo it back. Let this truth settle in. Your faith in what you hear inwardly is enough. You do not need to lift a finger to prove anything. Faith will move people, events, timing, and circumstances in ways you could never orchestrate. Faith rearranges the universe, and it all begins within, where no one sees, no one hears, no one knows but you. When you inwardly hear you've won, and you persist in believing that sound, something powerful begins to happen. You enter a state, and from that state you attract the outer reflection of your inner conviction. It doesn't require force, it doesn't demand hustle, it only asks for faithful listening. Let others take action from fear and desperation. Let them burn themselves out in pursuit of external validation. You, however, walk a different path. You understand that faith is the action, hearing the outcome inwardly, and standing in that hearing as though it were true is the only movement required. This is not passivity. It is the highest form of creation. Faith is creative movement without physical motion. It is the invisible bridge between what is imagined and what becomes visible. When you persist in inner hearing, with no need for proof, no anxiety, no questioning, you have done more than any action could ever accomplish. You don't have to figure out the how. That is not your domain. The how belongs to the unseen intelligence that governs all creation. It is the orchestrator of timing, the shaper of form. Your job is simple. Believe in what you hear. Stay loyal to it. Let that inner sound become more familiar than your current condition. Say within yourself, "It is done," and refuse to contradict that truth with fear, doubt, or striving. Whenever the old world tries to call you back into worry, return instead to the sound of fulfillment. Hear the words again. You've won. You did it. It's yours. Let it soothe you. Let it guide you. Let it replace all need for action with stillness and certainty. Because from that stillness, your world will begin to move. And when it does, you won't have to do the heavy lifting. People will call, opportunities will arise, circumstances will align, not because you chased them, but because you became the one who already has what others are seeking. That is the secret. To act only when moved from within, not out of fear, but out of alignment. So stop asking, "What should I do?" and start asking, "What do I hear?" Because when what you hear is the sound of the end fulfilled, and you believe it with all your being, you will find that everything else is added unto you, easily, effortlessly, faithfully. And then you will know it was never your actions that made the dream come true. It was your inner hearing believed. Faith did the work, and that was more than enough. Once you have listened, truly listened, to the sound of your wish fulfilled, your work is not to return to the world of doubt and delay. Your only task now is to remain in the state of having, to live emotionally from the end, to feel as if the desire were already yours. Don't look around and ask, "Where is it?" Don't wonder, "When will it come?" Those questions belong to the state of lack, not fulfillment. Instead, move through your days with a quiet certainty, a sacred calm that comes from knowing that what you have heard inwardly must manifest outwardly. You are no longer hoping. You are no longer trying. You are being the version of yourself who already has it. And how does that version feel? Joyful, grateful, relaxed, empowered. There is no tension in the one who has already received. There is no begging, no proving, no watching the clock. There is only a deep exhale and a mood of fulfillment. It is not about walking around pretending. It's about embodying the emotion of the answered prayer. When you truly believe that it is done, your thoughts, posture, tone, and energy begin to reflect it. You are not acting, it becomes natural. The joy of receiving becomes your companion, and your entire being radiates the atmosphere of done. This is why inner hearing is only the beginning. Listening is how you enter the state, but staying in the mood is how you live in it. Imagine a person who has just received the news, "You've won the lottery." There is a subtle but unmistakable shift in their body. Their mood changes instantly, not because the money is in their hand, but because the truth has landed. The message is enough. Once you have heard the word within, it's yours. You've done it. You are chosen. You must allow that word to reshape your emotional climate. Let that inner announcement color the rest of your day. Let it govern how you walk, how you speak, how you view life. Don't drop it at the first sign of silence from the world. Hold it, feed it, live inside it. Because the world has no choice but to mirror your internal states. It cannot deliver to you what you have emotionally rejected, but it must reflect what you have emotionally accepted as real. So dwell in the mood, not for 5 minutes, not only when you're meditating, but as a new way of being. Let the atmosphere of success become your normal. Let peace be your default. Let excitement flow through you. not for what is coming, but for what is already yours in the invisible. Even if nothing appears to change externally, yet remain. Hold fast. Resist the urge to do something out of panic. The seed is planted. Let the mood be the sunlight that nourishes it. You do not bring about your desire by force. You bring it about by being in harmony with the version of you that already has it. The truth is, your outer world must yield to your inner conviction, but it will only do so when you stop wavering, when you stop shifting between faith and fear, between knowing and questioning. So choose the mood of fulfillment and dwell in it. Wake up in it, walk in it, sleep in it, speak from it. Make no room for the old story. Make no space for doubt. The old self may try to return with questions, but you no longer answer to it. You answer only to the mood of the fulfilled version of you. And as you remain in that feeling, it becomes substance. It becomes form. It becomes your reality. So when someone asks how you made it happen, how you won, how it all turned round, smile gently and say, I simply stayed in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. The rest took care of itself. Now you see the truth that has always been within your grasp. Winning, achieving, and manifesting are not about frantic action or endless striving. They begin and end with the quiet, faithful act of listening inwardly, embracing the reality of your desire as if it is already yours, and dwelling deeply in the mood of fulfillment. When you persist in this inner hearing and feeling, without doubt, without resistance, you align with the invisible power that moves mountains and shapes worlds. Remember, creation is finished. Your faith, your assumption, your inner hearing does all the work. The outer world simply follows where your consciousness leads. So rest in that truth. Live from that place and watch as life unfolds effortlessly before you. Thank you for listening, for opening your mind to this profound power within you. May you carry this knowing forward, and may all your deepest wishes be fulfilled beyond your wildest imagination. Thank you.